What's the funniest thing you've done to avoid having S**X? Ofa says, I opened up a collectible card game and miniature store. One stanelrapist says, I ran the fuck away. I was with a girl from a party out on the street going at it on top of a car hood in an alley. After a bit she tried to slip me in, because she was wearing a skirt and no panties. This was easily attainable. She had a deathlock on my hips with her legs as I was standing there and I asked if she had any condoms. She told me, no, and again with her deathlock on me started to steer me back into her. In my head I was thinking fuck AIDS and shit, I don't know her, she's not even wearing panties. Instead of telling her I didn't want to, my drunk ass instead went, oh, and pointed out across the street. When she looked, I spun out of her grip and all in one motion grabbed my pants back up and went into a full sprint and jumped the fence into someone's yard and took off down the street. About the time I hit the ground over the fence I heard her yell, "Are you fucking kidding me?" TLDR, I ran away across an alley and over a fence into someone's yard, across that and into a full sprint down the street. Fimbleter says, I've never done anything to avoid having sex, it just keeps not happening all on its own. Name deleted says, late to the party but here we go. Not something I did, but my brother. For a few weeks in high school, I lived with my mom, and I was babysitting my younger brothers. A girl with who I went to school decided to stop by, and was clumsily trying to seduce me. She had a bit of a reputation, and I was watching kids besides, so I really wasn't into it. Anyway, she got really forceful, and my younger brother picked up on the fact that I was uncomfortable. As an aside, I was supposed to be very careful about letting the boys play wrestling video games, as they tended to get a little rowdy. I had completely ignored this rule all day. Anyway, my brother saw how uncomfortable I was, so he decided that he was going to climb on the back of the couch and dropkick the fuck right out of her. I pretended to be upset with him until she got back up and left, then high-fived him and took my brothers out for ice cream. KJ Nasalkvajskefla says, listen to this. I have never gotten credit for how smooth I was. I was younger, and doing some underpants grinding laying on the couch. Things were getting hot and heavy and I could feel how irresistibly hard he was getting, but something just didn't feel right. I looked down, and see a tiny dot of blood from Mother Nature's shank on his plaid boxers. Oh fuck. Oh fuck, oh fuck. No way in hell am I letting him see that. In order to save face, I did what any nervous lady could do. I as sexily as possible take off his boxers and start blowing him, but take his boxers and put them on myself. Talk about biting the bullet. Once he was sufficiently finished I dealt with the boxers, my business and everything while getting a drink for my now parched mouth. 18th century Polecat says, I feel like we all have to do the last minute blowjob switch at some point. I was once with an ex, and had just gotten back from the gym. He was very into my state of sweaty half undress and bam, in moments we were killing it with the sexy pre-sexing. I was just about getting into his hands down my pants bit, when I realized with an unpleasant shock that I hadn't showered the previous night, and had so far only been to work and the gym. I knew my man's oral proclivities, and I was not about to ruin the mood by having the only thing on the menu be sweaty, day-long in tight pants unwashed vagina. Cue a sexy grab of the wrist and me thoroughly licking his fingers, oh mayday, not good, sweaty gross, and moving that quickly into both wrists. You against the wall. Emphatically dominant blowjob while keeping the out of commission vajay well out of tasting and smelling distance. I sacrificed a very desperately needed fucking, but while he kusnapped I made brownies and gave myself a bit of a whore's bath, guaranteeing nookie for that evening, so no harm done. John O'Fark says, my girlfriend was in Spain for a while and I was hanging at my local bar for a few drinks after work one night. Somehow while I was having a beer or two and playing darts time passed and all of a sudden it's near closing time. I am normally a bike commuter, but was recovering from being hit by a car, so I was waiting on a cab while this 5-6 regular customer was trying to chat me up. I'm courteous and polite, but trying to shut her down. After 40 minutes of no cab showing up, chick offers to give me a ride home. I say, fuck it, it's free. I'll take it. Once we're in the car she won't stop seriously trying to hit on me. Eventually she asks why I don't just stay with her and I reply, as I have quite a bit at this point, that I have a GF and I love her. She asks what the hell is so special about this girl that I won't just cheat on her real quick. Now I'm past being uncomfortable and into getting pissed. I keep my cool, and explain that if I were to come over then I'd need to stop by my house and get my toy box. She asks what that means, and I tell her it's just the standard stuff. Ball gags, riding crops, a couple butt plugs, just the basics. She seems a bit weirded out, but not quite what I want. So I say, if you're into it, that's just the beginning. Are you into bondage? I've got a whole closet full of fun stuff to play with. I keep going, pulling all of this out of thin air, and by the time we're a couple miles down the road at my house, this bitch can't wait to get me out of her car. Never did see her in the bar, either. Human Michael says, my friend was very drunk in college, and went home with a very unattractive girl. We had tried to stop him, but he didn't listen. Shortly after arriving at her home, he said he regained clarity, and realized he needed to escape. She left the room for a moment to brush her teeth or some such task, and he jumped out her second-story window. He forgot his hat, though, and had to climb back in said window. Then he jumped back out. It was a small school, we saw her on campus often. Name deleted says, the sex with my ex-girlfriend was so terrible, she'd lay there like a dead fish, basically, that when we would go out to bars, I'd purposely give myself whiskey dick. Bonasham says, my ex-husband did this with one of his girlfriends. He was telling me how bad he felt about it but that she just didn't bathe enough and had become kinda gross and homely after they moved in together, so he had a religious awakening, and told her that it would be un-Christian for them to continue a premarital sexual relationship. She was really nice. I wish it would have worked out for them. Rider_Pride says, while wingmanning a friend, who was having sex in another room of the house, I had to sleep in the same bed as the girl he was having sex with's ugly friend. So she really wants to do the dirty but I'm not feeling it with her at all. So very drunk, I decide to make a fort on my half of the bed out of blankets and pillows and such and try to go to sleep. However, she is surprisingly aggressive, so for an hour I have to keep yelling at her, no girls allowed in my fort. She eventually got the message. Winston_Vodkatooth says, I fell behind a dryer, I was drunk, sitting up on top of a dryer in a friend's laundry room. The creepy girl I had avoided all evening entered and had me cornered in the room. She pushes up on me, tries unbuckling my belt, and attempts to kiss me. My only method of evasion was to fall backwards behind the dryer and wait until backup arrived. 3 friends heard her calling for help and sprung me from being trapped between the wall and the dryer. I left the room with them as my guardians. I'll never forget the terror of being wedged back there, while watching her fat hot dog fingers try to molest me from above. Ginger Squatch says, back in college I was a designated driver for a group of friends. We get to a party and my sober ass is bored. Then a very drunk woman I knew from one of my classes started hitting on me, culminating with her telling me she'd fuck my brains out. Sober me thought this wasn't kosher since she was hammered, so I turned around for a moment and yanked a few hairs out of my nose. It made me eyes water and my nose run, and I said, I have a brutal cold you don't want to catch. Why don't you let me get better and then I'll take you out? I gave her my phone number and she, though that was so sweet, she passed out with her head in my lap. 3 days later before class she came up to me, gave me a huge hug, and thanked me for not being a dick. We ended up dating and she's still one of my best friends.